You guys may remember a few months back, I showed you a prototype, a concept, if you will, from Motorola for a folding phone that did some pretty novel and interesting things. It's not a tablet style folding phone, right? And it's not like the Z Flip either. It actually folds in the other direction. We actually have a video here on Phone Arena. I will be linking to their full article down below. But we're going to look at this video that they shot. It's a demo of this device, and we're going to kind of go through this and see what we think about this thing, because like I said, it's pretty strange. So we're going to start playing this video from here, and as you can see at first, it looks like a pretty normal phone, but on the back you can see this sort of ridged texture going on, and the reason for that is it needs to bend backwards. I'm assuming a lot of the important hardware, like maybe the battery, is way down here because you can't really bend the battery, and the rest of this needs to bend, not at one axis, not like a normal phone like what I've got here in my pocket that only has to bend on that one hinge. It actually bends in such a way that it's bending all through this area, which is really, really strange. I also want you to kind of notice, let's go back just a little bit. Notice this thing that's on her wrist. It looks like an Apple Watch, but there's no screen. It's actually just like a little magnet. And you'll see a bit more about that here in just a moment as well. But from the front, that could pass as a pretty normal looking Motorola smartphone. They've got Android running in real time on it. This is not some dummy unit like we sometimes see. So she's then going to take this thing and she's plopping it down onto that little magnet thing. And it looks like the magnetic part is actually attaching to the bottom that was the non-folding part. I guess that makes ergonomic sense. And it's supposed to hold it in place and allow her to fold it or roll it around her wrist to be worn as a smartwatch. But did you see right there? Look, I'm going to be honest. We're going to nitpick a little bit, but this is a prototype, okay? And it's something that's probably never going to actually be released. But let's nitpick. So when she attaches this thing, watch as she moves her wrist, it slides off. So the magnet definitely needs to be a wee bit stronger. She has to kind of reseat the thing in place, and then she's able to show, okay, there you go. You got this phone wrapped around your wrist for whatever reason. It's a giant smartwatch. You've got a clock up there at the top, and she's doing gestures and scrolling around in that widget at the top of the screen, and it actually has sort of changed its UI. There's a lot of glare there, but there's an app launcher that is now running on the top of the screen, and you've got 3-button navigation down there as well. So they have done a little bit of work towards actually customizing their build of Android to be able to operate on this thing. It's not just taking, their normal phone OS, excuse me, and wrapping it around your wrist and stuff's happening on the bottom side. Like, they've kind of done a little bit of work here to make this make a bit more sense. And of course, there are some other interesting things that you could do with this, not on your wrist. How about setting it up on a table? I'm not exactly sure what that posture would necessarily be good for, but I mean, you could imagine perhaps setting it up and watching a video. Granted, the video would be relatively small because you wouldn't have all that much width to it, but you could set it up like that and have a video playing on the front of the screen or something like that. It could potentially be kind of useful. Personally, I have a hard time believing that anybody is going to want to do that. We talk about how these flexible screens they're a little bit on the fragile side, and now you've got one attached to your wrist. How many of you have a smartwatch on that might have scratches, and that's Gorilla Glass more than likely? That could definitely be a little bit of a problem. So guys, obviously this concept is a little bit strange. I mean, what if you have like really big wrists? You look like a small wristed person, maybe it works better on her. But if you've got like a really large wrist, that radius, the circumference of that, of the size of your arm there, may be a bigger problem as well. There is some weird stuff with this concept, but I do still love seeing weird things like this because it kind of gives you ideas of what is being experimented with, and it might be these sorts of things that you see and then you come up with the next great idea. While this is probably not the next great idea, it could lead to that next great idea. And I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think about the idea of a phone that transforms into a watch? Is it something you would have any interest in at all? Can you think of any other ways you could potentially use these folding phones besides just taking a phone that opens up into a tablet or a phone that closes into a smaller form factor? What can you come up with? Drop some comments down below, guys. And also make sure you click on the link in the description to go see the full article on phonearena.com. I will see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.